Hi there, my friend and friend. If you're maintaining separate variables for lighter, darker, and transparent versions of the same color, there's a much better way to work because of CSS relative colors that let us generate all of these variations based on a single value. Let's dive in and see how this works. I got a demo set up for us right here, and we can take a look. So you can see I have some variables set up, and I'm using toast notifications for this because I think it's a nice example of something where we can have multiple variations of this as well, and we can look at how we're saving a lot of time. So the very first thing I'm going to do is let's come in and sort of style the generic one, and then we'll sort of fancy things up from there. And really quickly there, I just made the font size bigger because I think it'd look better for our demo. So here, let's set things up where I'm going to come in, and we're just going to come in on this to start with and do I call it toast color. And put a color here, and I'm going to use the base color for now. So we're going to say it's our var of base color, and this is going to help us a little bit out, just base like that. This will help us out a little bit later on. This could be a step that we do later. It could even be a step that you skip if this is something that you're only doing one thing of and you don't need a bunch of variations like we're going to have here. Now next up, I'm going to do something that looks a little bit weird because I'm going to say we're going to color. I'm going to do an HSL from, and this is relative colors, and I'll explain the syntax of this as we write it out. I'm going to say var toast color, and then I'm going to HSL. And nothing really should change, actually. And I need a semicolon at the end. And as you can see, nothing really much has changed. But what we're saying is the color is an HSL value that is coming from the toast color. And this H and S and L are just placeholders for the hue, saturation, and lightness. And we'll see why that's important in a minute. Just so we can see quickly that this is working, if I change this over to my info, we're going to see that the color of the text and the border has changed on all of them. The reason the border color is currently changing is because my border is set to 2 pixels solid. I haven't declared a color, and borders by default will follow the color of the text. But for now, I'm going to keep this one as my base, and we'll come in with the modifications for the other ones as we go through. Now, where this gets a little bit more useful is let's come in with a background color. So background color, I'm going to put this on a different line just so we can keep it all without any horizontal scrolling. I'm going to say HSL from, same thing, my var of toast. You got to spell toast right, toast color, and space H space S space L, except this time if I do that, I can't read my text. But I want it to always be based on the color of the text. I can just come here and actually change the lightness value. So I can actually say this is at like 15%, except that's gonna be really dark. I meant to say something like 85% and go the other way around. And we can have the exact same color, but 85%, and maybe even we can come up to a 90 here, something like that. But we're getting that a little bit of that same color coming in the background now. And this is cool, right? We're just replacing whatever the lightness was with it being 90% now in our HSL. And just for fun, we can also take this to another level, and we can add like a box shadow here as well. So I'm gonna actually we'll do the box shadow here. Box shadow, and again, I'll do this on 2 lines just so we can see the entire declaration. And let's come in with 0 offset, maybe 12 pixels, 12 pixels. I'm going to leave it big for now. Like it really is standing out, obviously. But then we can come in with, and this is another really cool thing, with our relative colors. So HSL from var toast color, and my H, my S, my L, except in this case, it's really dark, and I go, oh man, I need a shadow, but I want to lower the opacity of it. We can do that with relative colors, which is amazing. So I just do a / here, because this is the way the space-separated syntax works in CSS. If you'd like to learn more about that, I talked about it last week. I'll put a link in the description, and there might be a card popping up. You can check that one out, and I'll remind you at the end. But I can just come here and say something like 0.25 or whatever I want for the lowered opacity of that same color. And you can see that's working. I want to make this a bit more subtle, so I'm also going to give it a spread of -8 just to pull it in a little bit. Just give us a little subtle shadow underneath each one of those cards. Or toasts, or whatever we want to call them. Awesome, so that's all working. Now, this is where the other cool thing comes in here, is I have my info, my warning, and my error here. And I'm just doing these with data attributes because this would be the easiest way to do it with JavaScript. Especially if you're, instead of using a class here, I think it makes a lot more sense to do it with a data attribute, because if you're setting it with JavaScript, you just set it. You don't have to worry about removing the info to put a warning, or just, you just say, if it's this one, the text is going to be coming in probably from JavaScript as well. The whole thing's going to be triggered with JavaScript, and you just do the data, what toast is equal to, and you style it that way. So let's come down here and we'll start with the first one where we can say the data toast is equal to info. And because I was set this up with a custom property of toast color, we can just come here and say in this case, my toast color is my, did I call it info? Yeah, I did. Look at that. There we go. So my info comes in. Now there's a bit of a problem here. We're going to solve that in a second. But let's come in with all three of them. So that's my info, and the last one will be, so info, I forget what I called them, warning and error. So these two, that's a warning. And then I can come on this one and say those are error. And all the colors are coming in. And it's looking pretty cool that we can do all of this with a single color and everything is adapting automatically. There's one problem that's coming in is like the text might be a little bit hard to read depending on what color you're using. Especially like, I don't know, I guess this one's okay, but we could definitely make it better. So what I'm gonna do is come back up to where we declared all of this. And over here, I want this color to actually always be dark no matter what value I'm using. So maybe I come in with a 20% here for the lightness on the color. And then it's going to be, based on the red or based on that orangey yellow, but I know it's always going to be darker. Now my borders have sort of gotten darker too. Well, we just do the same thing for the border where I never actually declared one. I'm just going to copy and paste to speed things up. And this one, we'll just use the original HSL. And I guess I could, if you're not changing the value, you could just do the var toast color and not worry about it. And that would work. But this just opens up some extra doors, I think. So we have the border color always coming in with sort of the more bright, vibrant version. And then the text we can darken, maybe 20 is a bit low. We could try like a 35. You can play with the number that you want on that to just make sure that it's always something that's decently readable. But we can do better. And before I let you know how we can do better, I just want to let you know that this video is inspired by an article, or two articles actually, that I wrote for Piccalilli. So I'm going to link to both of those down below. They're the pragmatic guide to modern colors, just colors in CSS, I think is what we called it. There's two articles in there. The first one is really for people who are copying and pasting colors. The second one is going a little bit further and diving into a lot more of the manipulations and other things that you can do. And just, we're talking about Piccalilli. People have been asking me for JavaScript content for a long time. They do have a relatively new course called JavaScript for Everyone. And so if you're somebody who's looking to learn more about JavaScript, I definitely would recommend going to check it out. And no, this is not a sponsored bit. I just like spreading the word on good quality content that is out there. So check out the course, check out those articles if you're interested. But now let's look at the other improvement that we can make to this. Which is, while I have all of these set up using HSL, RGB, hex, you're copy pasting from your design software, whatever it is, and you're setting these here, when using relative colors, you can often get a little bit of a better result by using oklch. And oklch is a newer, it's like HSL, just came around more recently. But the difference between HSL and oklch is as you go through the different hues, it works in a much more consistent way. So what I mean by that really quickly is looking at this demo, I've set these both up with oklch and HSL. And if I go through the different hues, as you get to here, you can see like this text becomes harder to read. And it really depends on the color that we're using. When you get to yellows, it gets visually, it gets a lot brighter, even though the saturation and the lightness values have stayed the same. And the whole point of the not the oklch, but the whole point of LCH in general is to keep that consistency as you're going through the different hues in terms of the perception of the brightness of the colors. And so here's an example of looking at the differences between using, I've set these up exactly the same way, I just took away the gray one. But you have the base toast color coming in, and I've set them all up with oklch here. Instead, the border I just set with the base color, like I said we could do, if it's staying the same. But one thing you'll notice here, there's two important things, is if I'm doing oklch on the outside here, I do need to use the LCH values, so LCH instead of an HSL, and the lightness being the first one now. And I've done a little bit of extra math in here for the background color to change the chroma a little bit. But you can see there's a little bit more consistency between the colors coming in when I'm using the oklch versus using the HSL here. With the border color is perceptually looks similar. The vibrancy of the color of the background looks much more similar. Whereas here, like the difference in the border color, especially I find with this one, coming through, the border looks much more faded out compared to the blue, which one is popping so much more when I'm using the HSL. It's not something that a lot of users are going to notice, but by using oklch, even though my base color is set to an HSL or whatever, hex or RGB, it doesn't really matter. By using the oklch throughout and having my toast colors all set through an oklch rather than using an HSL and modifying it that way, you just get a little bit more consistency between the different colors that are being generated for you. So if you enjoyed this video, if you do want a bit of a primer on the space separated syntax, like I mentioned, that video should be showing up on the screen somewhere right now. And also, if you want to dive deeper into all of this, do go and check out those 2 Piccalilli articles and maybe their courses as well. And with that, I would like to thank my enabler of awesome, Johnny, as well as all my other patrons and channel members for their monthly support. And of course, until next time, don't forget to make your corner of the internet just a little bit more awesome.